Third largest victory margin in the history of the tournament by runs for India. 66 runs in the end. Convincing it was. Perhaps from a net run rate perspective, they would have liked just a little bit less for Afghanistan. But Kareem Jannat, 42 of 22 deliveries, really had a spirited effort at the end. 144 for 7 in their 20 overs. Mohammad Shami picking up some wickets towards the end, but it was really the squeezing by the spinners, Ashwin and Jadeja, and the early impact of Jasprit Bumrah. That meant that they were never really looking at 211, but just trying to look for some kind of a safe target to keep that net run rate from falling apart. That's sort of a summary of the game between India and Afghanistan from Abu Dhabi. Here we are to assess it on Cricbuzz Live. I'm with Joy Bhattacharya and Dinesh Karthik. DK, India will be delighted with the victory. Maybe about 15 or 20 runs at the end would have dented those numbers a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't get too greedy. If at the start we said we're going to win by 66 runs, I think we'd be very happy. I think we should take that. They're a good team. Obviously, at some point, they were going to score runs. Just one 50-run partnership, and obviously that made the difference a lot lesser. But it was great to see Ashwin come back and bowl the way he did. It was just a brilliant sight. And overall, I think the bowling unit will be very happy. Bumrah, as usual, showing why and how he is one of the best in the world. Mohammad Shami, amongst the wickets, he's been obviously, unpardonably targeted in many ways in social media, unnecessary too. But to see him come back shows his strength of mind and character. And obviously, Shardul Thakur obviously not bowling as well as he could. Hardik Pandya is good to see him bowl again. So overall, I would definitely say the bowling unit, as usual, has stood up and done well for us.
Yeah, I mean, just at the end, Joy, the two bowlers, Shardul Thakur, Hardik Pandya, today, of course, it didn't really matter with the volume of runs. But in another tight game, that's probably an area India will want to look at and just see if they can improve on that. But as DK said, good to see Hardik with ball in hand.
Good to see Hardik with ball in hand, but 2 for 23s, perhaps he would have looked for something better than that. But yeah, that's what I was looking at. That the 14 runs from Hardik in the last over, 16 from Shardul in the 18th over. Those were the ones that cost us. Again, 10 from Shardul in the 16th. I just think that, I think Shardul is a really capable bowler. Of course, they were going for it. And I think what Afghanistan did very well is they played it very smartly. Navi held his guns. He wanted to make a charge at the end because he knew finally it was a matter of, he realized by probably the 12th or 13th over, this is not a game they had any chance of winning. So then it was a run rate battle, attrition battle, as we call it. Get as close to possible. Let's try and eat into the run rate so that by chance, if we upset New Zealand, it's to our advantage, not India's. And I think that's how they're looking at it.
Yeah, I think people should remember that. It's not that Afghanistan are playing for India or anything like that is happening. They're playing for themselves. They are a semi-final contender, let's not forget. So if they were to beat New Zealand, while it's good news for India, it also means it gives them a chance. So they need to, if they decide they want to beat New Zealand, they have to beat them by a big margin. And then India have to try and top that against Namibia on the last day. So lots of permutations and combinations. But first and foremost, job done for India. A victory, a convincing victory. And their net run rate at the moment, plus 0.073. And Afghanistan, which was plus 3 excess, has fallen to plus 1.481. Still way ahead of where India are. But India's next game against Scotland on the 5th will obviously be the endeavour to try and close that gap even further. Let's just talk about Hardik Pandya. We've talked a lot about Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul and the efforts that they had with bat in hand. But DK, we saw Hardik Pandya walk out with intent with bat in hand. But overall, despite conceding a few runs, those two took, he was just involved in the game, which is the way to see Hardik Pandya.
Definitely. I think we all know him as an all-rounder. We all see him as an all-rounder, and he is a terrific all-rounder in white ball cricket without a shadow of doubt. Just the way he batted, the shots that he played, very much Hardik Pandya shots. But most importantly, what was really heartening to see was the 2 overs he bowled. I mean, it has gone for runs, but those things don't matter. He's the kind of player, once the more he bowls, the better he gets. And when it comes to fielding, I think him and Jadeja are a very, very formidable pair, so to say, on the field. They stand in long on and deep at wicket most of the overs, and those are crucial positions. And we know Hardik is one of the top fielders in the Indian team. And overall, India's fielding has been very, very good. I think even the catch that Jadeja took, wow, what a catch that was. To be given not out is a touch unlucky, but it would have almost been a hat-trick for Shami had Jadeja's catch been given. That was the beauty of it. But I think overall, a great performance by Hardik Pandya, one that we all enjoy watching, a player that is always, puts his heart on his sleeve, and he's good to watch.
Yeah, but to fair, yeah, slightly unlucky, but it was given. The soft signal was out, and there was evidence because he had taken it on the edge of his fingers, just at the point he landed. There was contact between ball and ground. So I think in the end, the right decision. He may have been disappointed. Kohli was disappointed, but I think the disappointment was more because he made such a wonderful effort, Joy, to even get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. 30, he ran almost 30 yards, got into position, then running 30 yards, then putting in a dive, and then controlling the ball, no matter what the circumstances. He might have bumped into the ground because, of sheer momentum. But to hold on to the ball at that stage, I mean, 99 out of 100 players would have spilt it at that stage because, 30-yard run, dive, all that momentum, it's really, he did an amazing job of it. And I completely agree with you. I don't think the umpire's call was wrong. He must have seen enough evidence of ball striking ground. But, those are the kind of things that lifts a team. And I mean, Hardik's catch for me was even just as interesting, not because of anything else, but because of the fact that he was so much in control of it. A catch like that, you take it spectacularly. Sometimes the best catches are the ones that are so well taken that you think, oh, that was easy enough. Then you look at it and say, he was that close to the boundary, the angle at which he was. There's so much of a chance of him going over, and he just controlled it so beautifully. I thought that was an outstanding catch. That's the kind of magic Hardik brings to the team.
Yeah, Joy and I discussed it on Cricbuzz Combox, DK, and I think the first reaction was when he made contact with the ball, that's going for six. Hardik on the boundary must have thought it's also going for six. Waits, watches, takes it, and even when he took it, I said, "There's no way he has to go over with the momentum. How on earth did he stop himself?"
Oh, for a start, was it the Combox curse again? Was it the 11th over? Well, so what he did in that catch, technically speaking, was he allowed the ball to go past him, but he knew he was well inside the boundary. So all he had to do was, instead of going the reverse cup this way, he went the normal Indian method of catching. He allowed the ball to come past him, and then he took the catch. I mean, the beauty of good fielders is sometimes they make it look easier than what it is. And, that was another example of why he's such a good fielder, because it was a very, very hard catch. You could have seen a lot of players go the reverse cup and just spills over, or find a way where they're just standing on the, one of those boundary mats and you catch it. But Hardik, being Hardik, obviously kept his head still, which is the key thing at those points of time. He's got big hands, so more often than not, if the ball does land anywhere in his hand, there's a great chance he'll take the catch.
Yeah, and the reaction, Joy, after that, he didn't. I mean, some fielders would have gone bounding to everyone, high-fived the whole world. He didn't even go. He just said, "I'm good. I'm on the boundary. You guys celebrate there. I'm fine here."
Yeah, he's that Caribbean cool. I'm a reggae man. He just has that aura to him, and that's why I say that players like this, there are two parts to it. One is they're really good players. B is they put bums on seats. People will go to watch players like that perform, and Hardik is one of those guys. He's got that sort of style and swagger to his game, which I think adds, because at the end of the day, let's remember it is a match. It's a cricket match, but it's something to enjoy, not just an examination for the players. So, I mean, Hardik is one player that really is a crowd pleaser, and I just love the way he plays his cricket.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to pick up on some words from Virat Kohli, but I'll get your thoughts first, TK, on that. Today, let's remember again, it was a long time ago, 40 overs ago, India lost the toss. They would have wanted to bowl first. There was a bit of dew around, but they batted first, did the less preferred option, and did it so well. They've come out on top and come up trumps. I think that will please them, in addition to, of course, the 2 points.
Definitely. I think, obviously, in many ways, I think he must be disappointed losing tosses, but the way his openers padded up and went ahead and did what they did, and followed up by two quality middle order batsmen, he'll be very happy with the effort that the batters have put in to put a very commendable score. 210 has been the highest score in this World T20 so far, and that's what we expect of the Indian cricket team. It was good to watch, and then followed it up with a pretty solid bowling performance, and he'd be very happy with the team's performance. And as I said before, when two evenly matched teams play, toss becomes a very, very big factor. When one team is slightly ahead of the other, then the chances of the toss, the neutralizing effect of the toss can come into play, where it doesn't matter which way you go. You still have a very good chance of moving forward in the game in a very victorious manner.
So I'm just coming up with what Virat said at the end. Of course, towards the end, he alluded to the batting order. He said, yes, a lot of talk about the top three being settled, but once you reach a certain stage of the innings, the power hitters have to be padded up and ready, which is what happened. But he also mentioned that in the other games, if we had just 2 overs of free-flowing batting, then that would have sent the message to the opposition that we are going to put you under the pump, which is what they did today. When you do that, we know how we can play. Sometimes you do fall to the pressure and have to accept that. So he's realized that if only this would have happened a little bit earlier, the intent would definitely not have taken them to 110 against New Zealand, maybe a lot more. But it's coming at the right time. Some may feel maybe a little too late, but there's still enough cricket to be played, Joy.
Yeah, I mean that's what we've got to hope. And one of the things is that when we look at these fixtures and we say, okay, there's Afghanistan, Scotland, Namibia, of course we'll knock them over. They don't get knocked over. Afghanistan is a formidable side. They need to be knocked over. And beating any side by 66 runs, especially a side of the quality of Afghanistan, is not easy. So India has done a lot of the things right this time. Their batsmen will be more confident. I feel Scotland and Namibia perhaps will not be the challenge that Afghanistan is. But this is a good platform. And I think some really, really good factors out there. I thought the spinners bowled beautifully. And it's not that there wasn't any dew. There was some amount of moisture on the surface. So they bowled beautifully. They bowled in the control. And I think, Hardik doing well, Rishabh doing well, the openers doing well, all of it bodes well for India.
Well, the one aspect that will please DK, because he's already mentioned it, he was delighted himself with it. And Virat Kohli has said the most pleasing part of the entire effort was the return of Ash. And you could see he just had that confidence having him in that lineup and the impact he had and the presence he has on the field, DK.
Look, he's a champion all-rounder. I only have good things to say about him as a cricketer. I think he's a phenomenal bowler. Any format, he always stands up for you. It takes a special effort to take him on and, clear the ropes consistently. So, overall, you just go back and see the highlights, the ball that he bowled to Ashim Amla in Bangladesh. He just sets the trend. He goes after the big fish of the day. And that's been his attribute. And that I've really enjoyed, to go after the best player in the opponent and consistently knock them over. That requires a special skill, not only with your bowling, but mentally as well. You need to tune yourself to be able to do that consistently. And he's been a champion at that.
Yeah, India will be hoping that number we mentioned on Cricbuzz Combox, I think it was 1854, somewhere close to that.
1894, yeah.
Or the number of days between Ashwin's last T20I wicket and today, that should not be repeated now that he's come back and he's shown what he can do.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing, that he's such a good bowler. It doesn't tell you. I don't think it's because of politics or lots of people. He was not getting wickets. They went with the leg spinner theory, and at that point in time, Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal gave them something which was different, made a difference. One left arm, Chinaman kind of bowler, one right arm leggy, and they did very well for a while. And the point of it is that that's exactly what champion sides are all about. Go back to any champion side in history, and you'll see at least 7 or 8 players who have been close to that champion side, who have got in but haven't played consistently just because the side is so strong. I mean, a great example is Australia in their heyday. Matthew Hayden really made his comeback when he was 30 years old. Players like Gillespie, Kasparovich, all of them came in and out of the side. Brad Hodge averaged 54, scored 200, goes out of the next test match. Big champion sides have situations like that. And I'd rather say that it's more due to India being a really, really strong side in the last 7, 8, 10 years than it is to being, the fact that somebody has anything against Ashwin.
The other person who would have been keeping a close eye on India's performance, because he's going to be passed the baton in a few days' time, is now the officially appointed next head coach of Team India, Rahul Dravid. There was a tweet by somebody that says, is this the 4th time he's being appointed in the last few weeks? Well, it appears that, because there was news of the possibility, then the probability, then the near certainty, then the fact that he put in the application, and today it's been officially ratified, DK. So all set to have Rahul Dravid take over the reins, and he'll already be looking at this as a side. It's not a bad side to take over.
Absolutely. I think this is good news for Indian cricket. I think he's a very calm head. He's been somebody who's had the interests of Indian cricket in the core of his heart, and he's obviously produced cricketers in the India under-19s, the India A's. You've seen the number of cricketers that have come through from there and gone on to play for the country. His roles and the achievements over a period of time, speaks volumes of how good he has been. He's been a terrific coach at the junior level. He's done really well in the short stint that he's done in IPL. So it's going to be very interesting how he moves forward with his Indian team. Abundance of talent, he's going to be spoiled for choices a lot of the time. So it's going to be very important to see how he shapes up as an Indian coach. And I wish him all the best, and I'm very, very confident he'll do a fabulous job.
Yeah, and it's important, as DK just said, to focus on Rahul Dravid, the coach, and where he's come through. We know he was a fantastic player, great ambassador for the game, lovely character, but that's not the part you want to focus on. If he didn't come with the wealth of coaching experience at under 19 level, at A team level, that's really what we want him to bring to the senior team, Joy.
Yeah, and a couple of really good things that I think the BCCI has done. One is the fact that they've not just made him coach. They've actually opened the doors and says, "Your coach." The previous committee, everyone is gone. Because I think it's very important when you get into a position like that you pick your own team, your batting coach, your bowling coach, your fielding coach, the people you're comfortable with. Because it's really those relationships are going to be, you're going to spend days and months together. That's important. Secondly, I believe that he'll be an even better national coach than he will be an IPL coach, because you take an example like Gary Kirsten. I think Gary Kirsten is a fantastic national team coach. He's not a great IPL coach, because IPL coaches are not so much coaches as managers. You have 2 months. You don't only have time to develop talent. You've just got to get them together, practice them, put the right combinations in place, and let them play. Whereas, if you're the national team, there are players you can develop over 6 months, year and a half. And that's what I think Rahul Dravid will be exceptionally good at, especially because forget about the pipeline coming in. He's helped build the pipeline. He's going to bring players into the system. The under-19, he's helped build that pipeline himself. So I think two great things, that he's going to have time to really put his coaching philosophy, because 2 months of coaching does not allow you to put a philosophy that much into effect. But 8-9 months with the national team, in a year gives you that time. And secondly, I think he'll be allowed to choose the people he wants surrounding him, who's going to help him make this team better. And that's always good. It's always good. The coach must have his own choices in place.
Give us a little insight, TK, into Rahul Dravid, the leader, because we've, of course, seen him from the outside as a cricketer. We've observed him as an under-19 and A team coach, but playing under him as a captain to make this transition to being head coach. What was he like there?
He's a very shrewd tactician. He's absolute student of the game. He's one of the few cricketers over a period of time who could talk about the history of the game. He could go all the way back to mid 1900s. He would talk to you about the people that led Indian team, the people who performed. A lot about the Nawab of Patodis, Colonel Naidu. You can keep speaking about them. He will know a lot about them. He's somebody who's a proper student of the game. So when you come from that school of thought, you're imbibing a lot of good culture. You're imbibing all the characters and all the players that have played over a period of time, the good and bad. So he knows all about it. So he's seen it all, been there, done that, used that for his cricket. And that's why he became a way better player than what his talent suggested. And that is one of the reasons, because he was a very shrewd tactician and he was understood his game really well. And the beauty about it is when a player like him comes about a coach, he understands what it means to fail, because he's failed a lot more than he succeeded. He's seen how hard it is to raise your game from being a mediocre batsman to an exceptional batsman. So he knows that journey because he's been through it, and that will always keep the youngsters in good stead. He's somebody who's very balanced, a proper family man. So, his so-called values in life is very, very strong. So when you come from, that sort of a background, I always feel that, your credentials are one thing, but the fact that you come from a good place is always, and you become a very trustworthy person, because when you're traveling down the road for a long, long time and you have international cricketers, there's a lot of pressures attached to it. So you need a lot of trust and bonding between the coach and the players, and that will happen definitely. And that happened when he was a captain. That's why you saw a lot of youngsters flourish, even in the likes of MS Dhoni when he started. I think he started under a Ganguly, but he started really flourishing under Rahul Dravid, who at that stage sent him up the order, then made him the middle order batsman that he became over a period of time, made him the vice captain, obviously helped him through that journey, and then gone on to, obviously, when he did give up on his captaincy and just was a player, Dhoni took over, and we all know what happened after that. He's brought glory to Indian cricket. So he's, as I said, a student of the game. He's enjoyed playing the game, and he was not somebody who was a very, very talented person. He was a very ordinary player, but obviously exceeded expectations with just mere hard work, determination, perseverance, throw in a few more tough words there, and all of that is the Great Wall of India when it comes to cricket.
What a great way to sum it up. I remember one of the earliest conversations I had with him about his debut at Lords. Of course, everyone celebrates Saurav Ganguly getting the 100. Dravid was there, got 95. And the first thing he said in casual conversation was, when I was playing there, I was batting as a specialist batsman at number 7. And I played as if it was the last match of my life. He had no idea that he was going to even play a second test match. And that's what he said over the years, built him up as a person, as a player, and of course, as now a head coach of Team India. Well, let's go ahead to look at what lies ahead. India beating Afghanistan by 66 runs and plenty more cricket to be played in this tournament. We've got just a quick reminder of what happened in the other game in the afternoon, which was significant. It could have been even more significant had that 156 for Scotland been a little bit more. Just 16 runs, that's all. New Zealand put on a very decent 172 and Scotland made a great fist of it. Leask at the end, 42 of 20, just falling short by 16 runs. But great effort from Scotland, but New Zealand live on to try and make it to the 8 points. Quick look at the points table before we see tomorrow's games. And this is where it stands. New Zealand with that win go to 4. They've got a couple of games in hand. India have finally opened their account on 2. They're going to be playing Scotland and Namibia and keeping a very, very close eye on the biggest game of the group for India, which is Afghanistan versus New Zealand. And that is going to be very significant. You've seen the net run rates. We'll leave it at the moment. Let's look ahead to what's coming up tomorrow. Australia in action again. That's the afternoon game. They take on Bangladesh in match number 34 from Dubai. And it's a double header. The second game of the day is going to be West Indies up in action. And we're going to be seeing them against Sri Lanka. This one coming to you from Abu Dhabi. Let's talk about the first one. Joy, Australia, Bangladesh, not quite the side we've seen them now. They're without Shakib Al Hasan, without Saifuddin. They dropped Mustafizur for the last game. So Australia will really want to be saying that, okay, with a few of these gaps, we want to just steamroll them. Because remember, it's a dogfight between them and South Africa.
Yeah, this is a net run rate group. This is much more of a net run rate group. Here in our group, we're depending on Afghanistan, New Zealand result going one way for the net run rate to make a difference. But in that group, it's a total dogfight. Australia and South Africa are going to fight it out. And it'll be very interesting because Australia, every time you think that they've got a victory and they've got some sort of trying to build some sort of a gap between South Africa come back, win a match, stay in it. Australia go down to England again. It's a very, very interesting situation. My point is that I also feel that, Australia is going to be a bit wary because I feel for a team like the West Indies has one good match in them. At some point in time, that West Indies juggernaut will play just one really good match to show what they are. So Australia would be looking to try and say, this is the match where we put some points on the table. Mustafizur out, Shakib out. We've got to, really throttle this Bangladesh team. We've got to make the net run rate up out here.
Well, the Fizz was just dropped in the previous game. He's still very much part of their plans. Shakib Al Hasan is the one who's out. He will not be taking any further part. They brought in a replacement for him. But DK, in reality, they just haven't looked like a side who have managed to stand up. They didn't even qualify top of their group. They should have been in India's group. They've ended up in the other group, the group of death. So a lot to think about for Bangladesh at the moment.
Yeah, I think of all the teams, I do think Bangladesh is disappointed one and all. I think they haven't played good cricket. They're way better than what they've achieved in this tournament. I think they'll go back, reflect, and figure out how to move forward. What are the kind of pitches that they need to be playing in bilaterals to, improve their standard of cricket. Definitely not the World Cup they would have wanted, one of the early ones to move out of the tournament. So I think they'll be very disappointed with their effort because coming in, everybody gave them a big chance. They obviously got shocked by Scotland. After that, they came back. But, in the Super Turtle stages, they have been nowhere close to how good they have been over a period of time playing these multi-nation tournaments.
In fact, I remember, DK, when we were on Cricbuzz live together during Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka. And after they put the runs on the board, you were very impressed with their early effort. Sri Lanka were not looking good in the run chase. And you said you could see them as a semi-final contender. So they've let their fans down. They've let you down as well.
I think, I'm the least of their botherations, but for the moment, they just need to definitely up their cricket, because I had a lot of faith and belief in them, because I thought the Mustafizurs, Shakib Al Hassans, Mahmudullahs, Mushfiqur Rahim, they've all been playing for a long time now. It's not like they've just started out. At least a Sri Lankan team, if it doesn't do well, I can understand a lot of players are playing probably their first World Cup, but they've actually overachieved in many ways. They've really shown a lot of resilience, a lot of determination through this tournament. Whereas Bangladesh, on the other hand, came after beating Australia, after beating New Zealand in home series where the wickets weren't great, but they came with some confidence saying we've beaten these teams, but they get smashed by Scotland in the first game and then claw their way back in that qualifiers, come into the Super 12 stage, and then it kind of completely opens up to show where they stand in international cricket for the moment, but they're definitely better than that.
Well, there's nothing really for them to achieve, so it's all focus on Australia to see what they can do. Because the reason Joy was alluding to the West Indies is Australia's last match will be against the West Indies. South Africa's last match will be against England. If both fail to win, it's all down to net run rate because they'll be a level on points. Australia, quick look at their squad. They seem to have no real need to be looking outside the 11 that they've played so far, Joy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And just looking down at the squad, they have balance, they have everything. They're looking at Mitch Marsh more as a batsman than anything else at this point in time. But I think, given the fact what Glenn Maxwell has been doing for them, Marcus Stoinis is bowling a bit. They have two all-rounders out there. Pat Cummins can swing the bat a bit. This is a very, very decent side. They were smashed by England, but just remember, England is just perhaps, we look at Pakistan, and Pakistan, did a lot of damage to India. But I think England is a gun team of the tournament at this point in time, the way they're going about their game. So perhaps reading into Australia's result with England should be a bit, premature. They're a really good side. They could easily, make a big, big win over this Bangladesh side, and they're going to try their best to do it because they feel Shakib not there. Tamim has just not been there for this tournament, so that leaves basically Mushfiqur and Mahmudullah as the sort of core of that batting unit. And I think they reckon if they get through, Stark can get early wickets. I think they reckon they can get a big win here.
That's on the bowling side, DK, but how big a positive is the form of David Warner and Aaron Finch? Because early on, that was a concern. We put it up. David Warner came back with a statement saying, listen, don't judge me. I haven't played enough cricket yet. Came back with the big innings.
Yep. Obviously, he had that one inning where he got a 60 and he batted really well against Sri Lanka. But again, against Australia, the batting unit crumbled. I think they have left out a Mitchell Marsh, who they've backed over a period of time to bat at 3. So that left a kind of a gaping hole there because they've kept the batting order in such a way that, they have top 2 who are 5 powers, and then they have a Mitchell Marsh. And then in case all 3 wickets falls, then they're going to send a Steven Smith there. But now Steven Smith is batting at 3 for them. So I don't know if they've really planned for that. I have a feeling they might either go back to Mitchell Marsh or Josh Inglis, one of the two, and play him at 3. Because I think having an Ashton Agar at this stage as an all-rounder makes their batting look a lot more fragile because they have a Matthew Wade and a Marcus Stoinis there batting at 5 and 6. So they have some questions there. So I have a feeling they could probably make that one change in the batting order because they need that one proper batter at 3 so that the rest of the batting kind of understands what they need to be doing. Otherwise, the Glenn Maxwell comes in a touch too early if there's a couple of early wickets, which is something that they won't want again. So that's something they'll be looking into. That's the one change. The bowling looks pretty solid. It's only whether a question of are they going to go the all-rounder route with Ashton Agar or are they going to add that proper batsman, Josh English / Mitchell Marsh there. That's the only question I feel they need to be answering.
Well, if, as Joy said, Stark, Cummins and Hazelwood, if they blow Bangladesh away, they probably won't worry too much about the batting. They'll just knock it off, whoever goes out to bat. That is game number 1 in the afternoon. Australia taking on Bangladesh. But the second game also will be very crucial because West Indies still have a chance to make a statement. They could beat Sri Lanka. They could come and upset Australia. And suddenly they become a contender for that last 4 spot. They are the flamboyant side, defending champions. They were on the verge of elimination. They somehow huffed and puffed their way to stay alive in the tournament. They will be champing at the bit to try and get a win here.
I totally agree. I think the West Indies side is the kind of side right now who's just saying, give us an opportunity to do something. I think they're just a side which is aging, just the reverse of Sri Lanka. So it's very interesting when you see sides like that play because this is a team that's peaked 4 or 5 years back. But even now, just look at the firepower they have, just in terms of the all-rounders. You have 3 or 4 all-rounders who are game-changing all-rounders. In one team, Bravo, Russell, the kind of players that you have out there, Jason Holder, you have 3-4 all-rounders who can do everything for you. You have really hard-hitting batsmen. You have the likes of Puran and Hetmyer, who are exciting young batsmen. It has many good parts. I still don't think this is a team as yet. They've got some results here and there. They're not a team as yet. They're not together yet. You can make out the difference when when West Indies get together as a unit. But they are still formidable, and on their day, they have at least 3 or 4 batsmen who can just finish a game by themselves.
They certainly are. They were a little worried about Nicholas Puran. He's come and shown that he can be counted. Jason Holder, DK. I mean, Michael Vaughan referred to it as the worst non-selection of the entire tournament to have him not in the 15. Luckily, he slipped in there because of the injury to Obaid McCoy. So they'll be relieved to have Holder in. I have a question for you. Ravi Rampal's pace, they're a lot talking about ideal under the conditions. But if you want to blow a side away, you've got someone like O'Shane Thomas, close to 150 k's an hour. Would you like to play him?
He's not a bad option, definitely. O'Shane Thomas, he's got pace. But the only problem with an O'Shane Thomas is he can only bowl up front or maximum in the middle. They're not able to see him as the death bowler. So that's the only, in many ways, slightly one-dimensional there. That's why they prefer Ravi Rampal, because he can bowl a couple in the starting. And, at the back end, obviously, he gives you a lot more as well. He's got experience. He's done the rounds, played in England, played in Australia, played all parts of the world. So he kind of knows what he needs to do. And that's why I think, obviously being a Trini boy, Pollard has seen him very closely and is backing him a lot, and that's, I think he did well for TKR as well. And that's where he's got the confidence to say every time he throws the ball to me, he knows exactly what to expect from a Ravi Rampal. And that's why he must be backing a Ravi Rampal in that regard.
Yeah, the day his selection was announced, TKR had a match. We were on the field. I was sitting in the stands with Rampal's family, and trust me, they were as surprised as Ravi himself when he got the nod for the World Cup squad. But they were all delighted that the veteran has come on board. But from the opposition, Joy, Sri Lanka, they again, we've talked about them. We've talked about the potential team building in progress, looking 12 months hence. But even before you go 12 months hence, you want to start showing what you're capable of right here, right now, against a team like the West Indies.
Just look at the kind of players they have, Chamira, Hasaranga, they have the ability to be able to change games. Just look at so many young, this is one of the youngest squads. They average 26 years. So they're like exactly the polar opposite of the West Indies. They have one of the youngest squads in the tournament. And even their veterans, they're not playing Dinesh Chandimal right now. And they just have so much firepower out there. And, if Asalanka, players like Hasarange are given their opportunity, Mahesh Sikshana, again, somebody who's really, really exciting. I don't think they're ready to win a tournament yet, because there are too many weaknesses in this team to win a tournament. But what they can do is start getting together as a side, which can be formidable a year from now, because you are in one of those years where you have a T20 World Cup coming just 1 year after. So this team right now does not look formed enough to be able to win consistently, but this is a team that on their day can surprise anybody. And I think, are they capable of making an upset? Any time of the day, they're capable of making that upset. They just don't have enough, confidence, or they don't have enough experience to win consistently. But in a year's time, I really, really like this time. And I like the way they play the cricket, because it takes me back to a Sri Lanka, which we used to see at the times of, glory days of Sangakkara, Mahila. Before that, people like Jayasuriya, they were always confident players like New Zealand who'd punch above their weight. Small countries that did big performances. And that Sri Lanka had really disappeared over the last 4 or 5 years. And to see that being resurrected is something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, the 1996 World Cup, great memories come back for that. Jayasuriya, Kalu Vitharna, they found a method, they applied it, and they won a tournament. That's probably something they haven't had here. Just to finish off on Sri Lanka, DK, they're out of the tournament. How do they pick themselves up to be able to cause an upset? Of course, we're talking about being a team building for the future, but you have to also build for the present and say, let's show our wares in front of the world.
I think for them, the tournament is not yet over. I think the tournament starts in Australia. So I think there's a lot of work in progress for them. So this gives them an opportunity, obviously, to try out a few other talents that they have in the squad if they need to, because there are a couple of, abysmal failures in the batting order, at least, that they can look at changing. Whether they will be doing it, time will tell. But the standout batsman for me has been Charit Asalanka. He's looked quality every time he's batted. And the standout bowler over a period of time has been Wanindu Hasaranga. He's been not only a bowler, proper all-rounder. He's able to come in and chip in with the bat as well. I've really enjoyed seeing him grow as a cricketer. I think this Sri Lankan squad, after a long time, especially in this format, are playing well, and they can do very well in this format come the next World Cup. So I think it's a year's work in progress for them, and they need to be starting from that West Indies game to figure out what they need to be doing to do well in that tournament. And they have a great chance of doing well if they keep backing the right set of players.
Well, maybe we might just see Binura Fernando given a chance. Dinesh Chandimal, give it his calmness coming back into things, and maybe the spin of Akila Dhananjaya, one of the others we have not seen in this stage of the tournament. That's what we're looking forward to. Double header tomorrow. That is Sri Lanka against the West Indies tomorrow night. The only other issue we have left to resolve is the question that was posed by Joy, well, a few hours ago. Joy, let's remind everybody of the question and then give us the answer.
Well, this list of 25 cricketers features mostly Englishmen because of the length of their domestic season and they play a lot of first-class matches, or foreigners playing county cricket. What list and which cricketer is the only exception? And the list is of those who've scored 100 first-class hundreds. And of course, Don Bradman is the only one not on that list who scored. How he's managed to still get 117 first-class hundreds is absolutely amazing. Of course, the people outside who got it were people like, the likes of Graham Hick, the likes of Zahir Abbas, who played for many, many years for Gloucestershire. And the man who leads the list is Jack Hobbs, who got 199 first-class hundreds. It's a staggering number, 199 first-class hundreds.
Well, that's a list I really didn't spot there in terms of being so dominated by people who have either been Englishmen or played lots of county cricket, and the Don being the exception. Who was the Don of our quiz answers today? Let's find out our winner, and we have yet another brand new winner in Nandish Bhayani. Well done, Nandish. Welcome to the family. We just want to have newer and newer people coming and answering questions, and we hope this will not be the first, but let's clarify. This was answered first by Cricket Nuffy, and as we promised, Manan, that you are very much in our Hall of Fame, but you get an honorable mention here, but we will put the second best as our winner for today. It's always great to get more in there. So well done to Manan as well. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a long double header. We're looking forward to India now in a couple of days' time taking on Scotland. But first and foremost on Cricbuzz Live, we'll have a double header tomorrow. The matches we just told you about will be there. Hope you'll join us. From Dinesh Karthik, Joy Bhattacharya and myself on Cricbuzz Live, it's good night.